Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Jen Marshall. I am the executive director of This Is My Brave. And today we are joined by Jen Nagel, who is one of our storytellers in our St. Louis, Missouri show. We're so excited to have her here to tell us more about why she wanted to be a part of This Is My Brave.
Well, hi, everybody. I'm Jen Nagel, and I'm a woman in long-term sustained recovery from bipolar II disorder, PTSD, and ADD. I also am co-diagnosed and in long-term recovery from opiate use disorder.
So Jen, tell us why you decided to come out for This Is My Brave.
I've decided to come out for This Is My Brave because I've always been a writer. I've always enjoyed writing poetry. I've done it my whole life. And when I first was in recovery, this time, it was super important to me to get on stage somewhere, even if it was just in local open night mics, and tell my story. Let people know that, especially now with COVID going on, that we're all dealing with something, and that mental health recovery and substance use recovery, more people than the public really realizes. We've been suffering in silence for too long because we're afraid of being stigmatized. And, recovering out loud is important so that people can identify and realize that they're not alone.
I love that. That's, the big mission of ours at This Is My Brave is to make sure that we're putting faces and names to stories, to destigmatize and have people starting conversations that maybe we wouldn't normally share. Like if I had met you, Jen, before This Is My Brave auditions, we wouldn't have had a conversation about our mental health struggles, So I think that's obviously the coolest part about all of this is getting to know each other on a deeper level. So what was it? Tell us a little bit about what it's been like being a part of the cast, like in the normal sense, normal of having our welcome party and meeting each other in person, to having this group of people that we now meet virtually and can rely on. I know we've become really close, so I would love your take on that.
Yeah, absolutely. When I auditioned, it was one of those things where I had a friend who's a clinician and also a fellow woman in recovery, and she forwarded your link to me, and she was like, "I think you would be fabulous at this. You should try." I thought about it for a minute, so I did, and the auditions were fine. It was so amazing to have 4 people in the room actively listening and reacting emotionally to your story, to your words, to your honesty. And I bawled after I was done auditioning. It was amazing. It was a great experience. And then the welcome party was amazing. I immediately felt comfortable after that first awkward couple minutes when everybody's just filing in the room. I immediately felt comfortable with everyone. Everybody was just kind of looking at each other. There was no judgment. It was just, it's something that I know that the universe wanted to happen for sure. And then now virtually, it's really cool because I've been able to really get close to a couple of the cast members, because we're all dealing with this strange new world of COVID, and on top of regular life, all the adjustments. And I know in particular with one cast member, I've been able to get close enough to, just hey, how are you doing? Just regular everyday stuff. They're a part of my recovery now. And I think those relationships that I form are just, they're lifetime things. And that's really cool.
I love that, Jen. I think there's something to be said about when you're able to break down the wall of let's cut the small talk and let's talk about what's really important to us. And obviously it comes through in what you're sharing about how important recovery is to you and how those relationships really do make it a little easier. So that's what This Is My Brave, that's part of our mission. So thank you. And then what did it feel like when, I mean, you guys were preparing to take the stage and then COVID hit and all of a sudden we had to put things on hold. We thought we would just postpone and be able to be on stage this fall. Now we're shifting to completely virtual to keep everybody safe. What did that feel like for you?
Honestly, when I first heard about that the show was being postponed, I was like, okay, we'll get through this. Everything's okay. But the more that reality kind of set in that, this might not happen in person, all of the imagery that you see in your head of like, having your family members look at you and like being able to connect with them in the audience and seeing how people react, like that's the expectation that a lot of us cast members had going into this. And then to find out that we're, going to be on a screen, obviously it's for excellent reasons, because, I mean, we have to be responsible people and, have respect for our humans and their health. But those of us in recovery, I'll be blunt, like we don't deal with change very well, once it sets in. But I quickly got over that, which was pretty cool because I've been able to, to find, that happy medium. I just, so right now I'm dealing with it fairly well.
That's good. I have to also ask, like, since the pandemic hit, how was your mental health affected? Like, how are you coping personally?
Well, personally for me, being somebody who's worked with, in the treatment field for a couple of years, and then, running a syringe exchange, I'm used to crisis mode. And I can I can deal with crisis pretty well. It's a pretty good coping skill of mine. But after everything kind of stopped and the urgency was done and everything was really being taken care of, my family was safe, my participants were safe, my job kind of settled down because I went through a job change through all this. I really had to sit back and take a deep breath and, kind of take all of it in to process it, because part of crisis mode for me is go, go, go. It's being super busy has always been a coping skill for me. Sometimes it's to my benefit, sometimes it's to my detriment. But for the most part, I've been able to use any spare time that I have and, taking care of myself, taking care of the bucket list of stuff that I've needed to get done with this house forever and reconnect with other people, but it's because of my recovery tools that I've been able to do this. Had I not had any type of recovery experience, it would have been a lot harder. And there's some people who might not even make it out of this COVID isolation. You know what I'm saying? So.
Well, that bell you heard was one of my coping mechanisms, my reminder to meditate. I've found like a meditation app that I really love, and I'm trying to do 5 minutes or 10 minutes a day, and it really does help. So those tools we need to use and dig into our toolbox and put it to work, because it's all we have right now. And the connection, what has the virtual rehearsal been like for you?
At first, kind of weird, but I had been using the Zoom platform since the beginning of COVID. And once we had decided that, hey, this is the way we're going to go, you get used to it, you adapt. Just being able to have Zoom calls where we don't really talk about any performance stuff or pieces and just really connect with each other on a personal level, like everyday life stuff. That connection is, what is keeping me going personally.
And I do want to say that, Jen, you have been on like every call that we've done, and you are such a cheerleader and support system for I mean, myself and for our other cast members. And I know that everyone appreciates you. And I'm so happy that you're part of our cast and to have you through this time, because it is so crazy and difficult. But, you know, Jen, Marshall, and I were talking yesterday, I mean, every day, obviously we have these conversations, but just what you were saying before about how we have these recovery tools of living in mental illness and having the lived experience of it, that this is why it's so important for us to still put these shows on and do these interviews and get the word out there, because there are people that aren't equipped and that haven't experienced it before. And, you know, it's kind of our time to shine, if we can, to be a helping hand to others. So all of that's so important. And I so appreciate you, who you are.
I love you, Katie.
We're so glad you're a part of the St. Louis cast, Jen. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today to tell us about your experience with This Is My Brave. And everyone's going to be tuning in on, what's your date again? October 11th.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much again, Jen. We will see you then.
All right. Bye, everybody.